Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to part 28 of the GTO Trainer. I believe this is the first time we've ever gotten pocket aces. So open from the hijack, this is going to be a very standard 3-bet. Small blind folds, big blind folds. Folds back around to the hijack who calls. Ace 3, 3, 2 spades. So we pretty much have this entire board locked up. Only hand we're losing to, obviously, is pocket threes. However, it could potentially be in the hijacks open and then flat. You know, there's going to be a lot of pocket pairs in the open and flat due to the implied odds. So there could be some pocket pairs here. They could have some flush draws. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a very small sizing. Just try to incentivize them to continue with a lot of their range, considered that it is a paired board, so this is probably going to be very advantageous for a lot of their under pairs. So pretty much they're not going to have kings, they're not going to have queens, they're not going to have jacks. They might have tens at a frequency, but so pretty much tens down, but most likely nines down, for example. We got two flush draws out there now. I reckon this is an easy check back candidate. Try to incentivize them to bluff off at the river. Give them a little bit of rope, considering that the range they get here is not going to be very strong. Pretty much just pairs underneath the ace, and that's about it. So they check again. So I would personally, whenever I've got like a real nutted hand, essentially, I like to just go off a big size and go, hey, if you're going to fold, you're going to fold. Rather than trying to go for some real thin value, because pretty much all I'm ranging them on is under pairs underneath the ace. They're not going to have pocket eights. They're not going to have pocket threes. If they had pocket eights, they would have raised on the turn. If they had pocket threes, they probably would have 3-bet me on the flop, considering that I could easily have a lot of ace-x here, and they'd want to pile in the money. So I'm probably going to go with a little bit, probably not all the way of a 20 bet, but probably 14.5. Try to get looked up by pocket. And they had the exact hand that I thought. So yeah, they're saying on the turn should have gone with a, what's that? Roughly 1/3 bet, which, you know, I can understand the idea. Probably the best time to try and get more value out of your pocket pairs. However, my main thought process was kind of check, because they had ended up did have, if we have a look at their range here, I wouldn't be surprised if it's pretty much look at that. So a lot of pocket pairs pretty much is what they're getting here with. They can even have queens here, so pretty much queens all the way down. So jacks is pretty much what I'm mainly ranging them on, given the way they played. Pocket pairs are going to be a lot of situations of open then call. At least your weak ones, obviously your kings, aces, queens at a decent frequency would be putting in the 4-bet there a lot of times, but a lot of the open calls going to be a lot of pocket pairs, for example. So personally, how I believe that it checks better there, trying to incentivize them to bluff off, because obviously they're not going to have value. Try to hope that they hit their pocket pair, and then obviously, in this case, we have the whole board locked up. And then, you know, they would have 100% bet the turn if they've got pocket eights, without a doubt. Thinking that I've got ace-x here, and knowing that they're going to get called. Or at a minimum, they would check raise, which also very good for us as well. But the main way that I kind of saw us, because I reckon, like, if we go 1/3 here, they're probably still folding on the river no matter. And then we bet this sizing. So yeah, they're kind of a 50-50, which is kind of the aim. Kind of go like, okay, you know, hope that even a check and then the bet on the river, I think still works well in terms of it's not. I'm not like, we're mostly just trying to tell them that, hey, we've got air here, we've got king high, we've got queen high. They're not really going to be putting us on a busted flush draw. They're not really going to put us on a busted hearts draw. They're mostly just going to be going, okay, well, let's try and bluff off. King high. We'll go for what's it called? Bluff catch king high, bluff catch queen high. which is also what I'm trying to achieve with the check on the turn as well there. Try to put that doubt in their mind of like, okay, they could be bluffing here. They could have just slowed down. They could have like king, queen that would range bet on the flop and then check back on the turn and then, face another check on the river and then try to bluff off again. Maybe if we went for a little bit more of a smaller sizing, they would have a little bit more of that thought process of, they're just bluffing here. If we go for a little bit more of a smaller sizing, they'll go like, okay, I'm happy to bluff catch for 8 bigs, 9 bigs, 10 bigs, maybe just not 15 bigs, but I reckon we should, at least a decent frequency, as I said before, it's about a 50-50, at a decent frequency, pocket pair above the 8 would most likely be calling here at a decent clip. We do get here with just a lot of air, because we're 3-betting from the button and it's a hijack, middle position, they're going to be a little bit wider. We're going to be 3-betting them a little wider, especially considering we're on the button as well. So we just have a lot of air that gets here as well, a lot of bluffs, and we are incentivized to be bluffing off and especially c-betting, especially on an ace-high board as well. Just range betting there and kind of playing as if we have an ace in all those situations. Even if we do have air, we're highly incentivized to be doing that. It's kind of the thought process of, hey, they might be wanting to, make a hero call, bluff catch, whatever you want to call it. Moving on to the next hand, very tight, strong, under the gun, open. We've got some offsuit garbage, standard fold. Moving on to the next hand, a very tight, strong, under the gun, +2, open. We've got some more offsuit garbage, nice standard fold. Next hand, exact same situation, offsuit garbage, nice standard fold. Moving on to the next hand, a under the gun +1, open. We've got some offsuit garbage in the big blind, going to be a standard fold. If it was suited, I reckon this is an easy call. So yep, 5-4, even raise it a little bit of frequency as well. A lot of post-flop potential, plays really well up against a tight, strong, under the gun +1 range. Not going to be outkicked in a lot of situations. We're going to hit a lot of boards that they won't, and it's also a little bit disguised as well. Moving on to the next hand, a cutoff open, so a little bit more of a wider range in comparison to an early position. But we're in the small blind with some offsuit garbage, nice standard fold. Moving on to the next hand, under the gun +1 opens, so very tight, strong range, and under the gun +2 we're playing a pure 3-bet or fold strategy, and offsuit garbage does not fall within that 3-bet strategy at all. Moving on to the next hand, under the gun +2 opens, we're in the button with 6-5 offsuit, nice offsuit garbage, going to be a standard fold. 6-5 will be a standard call, even a bet at some frequency as well. We are folding a little bit, maybe because it's a early position. We're probably going to be calling 100% of the time, or at least at a higher frequency if it's a little bit of a later open, I would assume. Actually, maybe even not. Actually, no, we would. Because the thing, when you're opening from a later position, our suited connectors have a lot more potential of being outkicked, a lot more potential of hitting the same boards, and we don't have a clear range advantage in terms of the board comes 6-5-4 versus an under the gun. We know that 100% we have range advantage, 100% they're going to be scared of that. Whereas if we're facing a cutoff open, we're in the button, there's a far more higher chance that they can also hit that board as well. So I guess that could be reasoning for us actually calling or 3-betting a little bit of a smaller frequency with our suited connectors versus a cutoff open rather than a under the gun open. But yeah, so if it was suited, easy call, but offsuit, just with that reduced equity, going to be a standard fold. Moving on to the next hand, under the gun +1 opens. We're in the small blind with pocket 7s. I can hear a 3-bet here to try to isolate under the gun, because a call does make the pot odds very, very favorable for the big blind, but we also don't want to be over bloating the pot. We also don't want to be playing. So we don't want to overload the pot. We don't want to overplay our hand, and we don't want to be playing a big pot out of position. But I do believe we do have to be 3-betting here, purely because if a call here, we're pretty much giving the big blind 20% pot odds, so he only has to think that he has 20% equity here to call profitably, mathematically, in the long run. So I'm going to lean towards a 3-bet here. Big blind gets out of the way, under the gun calls. Flop comes ace 9-6, all rainbow. See, the thing is, so the ace high boards obviously inherently should be hitting under the gun's range at a far higher frequency. But we are still the pre-flop aggressor, but I do still prefer a check here. They bet out for half a pot. We're probably just going to be folding here. Okay, so they're saying, yeah, okay, so we do have range advantage, hence why we should probably be going for a bet there. I could definitely hear that 100%. Even though, yes, it is up against a very strong, tight under-the-gun range, we are still the pre-flop aggressor, so we should still be creating that story that, hey, we got a strong ace here. We did 3-bet your strong range, so we could have a very strong range here. And we obviously only have 2 clean outs, a backdoor straight, and that's about it. And then definitely easy standard fold after they've taken that half pot sizing, because they're pretty much screaming that, hey, we have a ace. If we look at, so it should have been a call. So I thought it would be a call. In my mind, it's a pretty easy call. Utilize the the implied odds of going, hey, if we hit our 7, we're gonna get paid, especially on an ace high or a dry board. Where, under the gun's range, it's going to slam at a high frequency here, but the main concern is just having that big blind behind us and then being out of position to 2 people. It also slashes our equity greatly. It's just my concern about calling there, because I'm pretty much giving the big blind 1 to 5 odds here. And then that would be pretty much, especially in live poker, big blind should then be calling there with pretty much any 2 cards. Shouldn't even really be looking, shouldn't really be a question at all. And a lot of live players would, just stick in the extra 1 big blind. Moving on to the next hand, under the gun, very tight, strong open, when under the gun +1 was an offsuit garbage. Nice standard fold. There's our 10 hands, so 10 hands, 15 moves, 93% GTO score. So inaccuracy in terms of not calling the pre-flop versus under the gun in the small blind pocket 7s. I would 100% prefer to be calling there. I just don't want to be allowing the big blind in behind, because then that just slashes the equity. Maybe the idea is we might even want just the big blind to come in as well, and pretty much just play a set farming or set mining strategy in terms of, if we hit our set, try to win a big pot. If we don't hit our set, just snap fold. So maybe that could even just improve our implied odds, which I could definitely hear. Well, it does effectively, especially if the big blind hits it. And then even if the big blind comes in with a cold 3-bet, is that a cold? Yeah, cold. Yes, cold. I think no, there's no cold 3-bet. If the big blind just comes in with a 3-bet. No, it's a squeeze, yep. If the big blind comes in with a 3-bet squeeze there, we probably still be calling and still have the implied odds to try to set mine there. And then our 2 correct moves, one of them was in relation to the ace's hand, in terms of checking back on the turn and not going for about a 1/3 sizing is what they recommend. Try to get some more value from under pairs before something changes and makes it untenable for them to be calling. So just in case the board changes, another overcard comes to their pocket pair, for example, that might scare them off, might kill action. So try to get some value while it's still just, a nice paired board, while they still might have a overpair, well, not overpair, but an underpair to the ace, but overpair to the rest of the board. And try to get the value there before like cards come in that change the board, makes it scary for them, and like I said before, it kills your action. So yeah, hope you guys learned something today. Have a good one, and as always, play well.